would like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast with young men. Let's dive in here. Nora, let's start off with the ladies as we normally do. What you got for us today? Question, thought.
Um, Not sure. I'm trying to with Lincoln, trying to figure out how I can, I don't know, make sure that I train him while he's young and then have it stick or pay off in the long run.
Yeah. So I would go ahead and, I would go ahead and do to Lincoln what one of Kenny's teachers did to him when he was in school.
What's up?
What age were you, Kenny, when that happened?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Uh, you had to sit down, just sit there in a chair. Just
That was in our kindergarten training.
okay. I wonder if that was like an Amish thing. like, wonder if that was an Amish thing. I'm like, is that an Amish thing? So I started asking all the Amish that I know and say, is that normal? I haven't found one other person that's ever had that experience happen to them. Never. So it's really fascinating. Um, and so questions, Nora?
I think that would have been 5 then.
Yeah, 5 years old. So get it earlier. Get him, get him at three. like, get him at three.
Okay.
Yeah. So what you do is you build it up. I've got some pretty wild kids, and we would go ahead and in church they'd all, I would sit between, like, there'd be three to my left and four to my right, and Rosanna would be on the end of that. And all the kids, the people would come in and they'd be like, "Holy cow, your kids are so well behaved in church." Somehow we didn't get the lesson as you should be well behaved out of church too. But the way we taught the kids to, sit still is we'd go ahead and, have them draw or something to be quiet, but to make it interesting for them. And so teaching, like, it's interesting, like with Lily. So she's 9 years old. That girl, so she's here with us. She's our granddaughter, our oldest granddaughter. And that girl is independent. Holy cow. And she's an only child, but she knows how to play with by herself. Like, she knows how to play with her by herself. She low maintenance, like it's just like she just can play by herself. It's insane. And she plays with her cousins really well too. Everybody loves Lily. And um so each child is different. Each child has their own personality, um, their own strengths and weaknesses. So if you can get him to sit down for 30 minutes and just put his hands in his lap for or 30 seconds, not 30 minutes, 30 seconds, and then you gradually build up the disciplines. You gradually build up the disciplines to where it's a minute, and then it's 3 minutes, and then it's 5 minutes. Um, and so, he's a charmer. Yeah, he's a charmer. He knows how to move people. His facial expressions, his body language, and how he does things. He's just going to be, and that can be used for unbelievable good for him and people around him, or it can go ahead it will absolutely be heartbreaking for you. There's maybe not a lot of middle ground with him. It's either going to be, he is going to be, he is going to be, yeah. And so anything you can do to help him to be more disciplined. Um, and so boys want discipline. They hate it, but they want it. They respect it, but they like, like Avery, he's what, 2 years old now? A year and a half, something like that. And he's given, Melissa a run for his money or her money. I mean, she's, with three sisters and he's the only boy, you know, he's, he's given her a run for, money. And so they have a friend, Joe, he's in construction, and Melissa was saying how he doesn't obey. Avery doesn't obey. He's a year and a half. And Joe's like, Avery, get off. Like, just holy cow. And Avery's just like, and then Avery follows Joe around. like, like, so he's going to be drawn to strong, to strong men, to ones that have force that go ahead. And so they, you know, they're sneaky little buggers. And so how do you take that, and do that? So hopefully that has some help for you. Kenny, what you got?
Um, so I don't know if other people have that, the fear of failure that
So here's something that
whatever.
I can help with that. Um, would you like that fixed?
Um, sure.
Okay. So it took you a long time to come up with that from in my world. Questions?
Okay.
So you might not want it. You might not want to go ahead and to solve that. You might not want to fix it. So there's a benefit in having a fear of failure. Do you understand the benefit of that?
I do not.
Does anybody, Nora, Luke, do either of you understand the benefit that we gain from the fear of failure?
Yes,
What is
it's a drive factor.
what does that mean? What benefit does that bring?
Like it motivates you to not fail.
A fear of failure? Is that what you're saying? A fear of failure motivates
Yeah.
you. Well, it can, right? But it can also go ahead and cripple you. It can, like deer in the headlights.
Uh, gotcha.
And so the benefit often comes is that the brain, like, I think you guys have all, um, you know, watched the video on addictions, clarity about addictions. And so this is really a cool video, the biology of addictions. And it talks about dopamine and serotonin, endorphins, GABA, epinephrine, and PIP. These are chemicals in our brains, literally. And so, what people do is people go ahead and they, uh, he talks about in this one here, he's talking to prisoners. It's a prison. And he's talking about alcohol. But the same concept is true, I believe, with drugs or even with vitamins. When we go ahead and feed our body something, then the body produces less of it. So the body becomes lazy because we're popping pills, even vitamin. I believe it's even vitamins. Someday in the future, they're going to find out vitamins actually hurt you. I'm not saying all vitamins but anyways, hear me out here. And so the brain is lazy. It wants to feel good without doing the work. And so if you're a failure, the brain can figure out, and I see it, and I've seen it in most of my grandkids. So in most of my grandkids, I've seen what I see in Lincoln, and it's the coolest thing. When I'm their grandpa, I'm not their mom or dad. Mom or dad get a little tick, but they'll be so bouncing off the walls. Like there's so much energy and they're going to play and everything. And you tell them to pick up and their shoulders go down and they go down like this. And they're like, I'm tired. You weren't tired 3 seconds ago. So you weren't tired 3 seconds ago. And um, so the benefit of fear of failure is it goes ahead and it gives us an excuse not to do things that we don't want to do because I'm afraid of failing. So I don't have to take risk. I don't have to work hard. I don't have to make sacrifices because I'm going to fail. And then we become a victim. And then we get a lot of attention. And so if you, so in the 12 principles to life masteries, we went ahead and taught the kids um, failure is always a choice. We're always choosing to fail. There's only two ways to fail, and that's to fail to try or fail to learn. Those are the only way. So if we're not trying something, if we're giving up, that's failure. We're choosing to fail. Why? Because it's easy. It's easy to give up. It's just easy to say, you know, I'm just going to give up. Or other people, they'll do the same thing over and over again and expect a different results. Like they're not learning. They shoot themselves in the right foot, shoot themselves in the left foot, and say, well, that's different. Technically, you're right. It is different. And so if you want to go ahead and cure the, you know, cure the problem of failure, you just failure is failure to try, failure to learn. Are you trying? Yes. Are you learning? Like what am I going to learn from my past situations? And so 10x, that might be something. I know you guys have a whole list of reading and courses you're going through, but 10x, I really like that a lot because you pay now or you pay later. Uh, there's DBLB. Um, and so I won't do that because this is a family friendly, show podcast. And so don't be a DBLB. And it's like, don't whine. Don't go ahead and moan and groan about stuff. Just don't do it. Like figure it out and make it happen. Does that help, Kenny, or not so much?
Not sure.
So what's driving the well, I'll swing back around. Luke, what you got?
So we were at an event a couple of weeks ago, and the speaker mentioned something a lot on um, making people feel valued. So people will work for money, but they will work a lot harder for a cause. And then he said something like instead of, putting pressure or putting pressure on employees when you're in a leadership position, instead of putting pressure on people, like you speak them their value. Like you're doing a great job, keep it up, and then they will improve and keep on doing a great. Like, what do you think of that?
How's it working for you?
There's some stuff where, like, okay, I think it's working good, or I think
Yep. Yep.
but I don't know. Like,
Well, so this is the thing that's tricky about life. It can seem like it's working because it's working in the short term. Like um, people who are have trauma or pain, and so they drink or they do drugs or they do whatever. They go shopping, they do something, and so I'm drinking and I feel good. So it's working. Well, okay, if you're basing it on feelings, yes, it is working. Your feelings are, but it's not fixing it at the core. And so there is something you see pastors doing this all the time. Like you as a congregation are giving. And so it's a technique that the amiable use very effectively is you praise people and you use that to leverage and manipulate them to get what you want. And it will work to some degree. If you can do that and it works, you're a hard worker and you're this and this and this, you know, that's awesome if it works. So what I try to do is I try to lead with the amiable. If that doesn't work, I go to the analytic. If that doesn't work, I go to the expressive. And if that doesn't work, if I care about the situation or the person, I'll go driver. If I don't care, then I won't. I'll just let it be.
so how do you determine if it works or not?
Um, so this is where I think moms with boys maybe miss it. My mom didn't. Um, I think Elaine, I think she does well in it. Um, and so I think moms use that technique to get their boys to do things, and it works. But then the boys become addicted to praise, and they're not doing the good things because it's the right thing to do. They're doing it for the praise. And a wife will get tired of that. Of it's like you're not married to a man, you're married to a boy because you've got to go ahead and continue to praise him about doing the things that he should do. Like these are things you should do. So it's not a black and white. It's not easy, Luke. Um, I mean, you bring it up with your team members, and you can say, like if they were at that event, you can say, "What do you guys think about this?" But that is that fireside? Is that doing? Is that going out on a boat somewhere? Is it doing rafting together? So you guys have a moment, and I'm really proud of you, Luke. Now I'm reluctant to say that because I'm thinking, oh, is Luke going to be like one of those guys that says, okay, I've made it, I've arrived now, I don't have to work. But I'm really proud of you on what you've done with the event. You can go to a sucky event, a terrible event that's a total waste of time, and you can go ahead and turn it into something beautiful. It's the after event that matters far more than the event itself. And you're on that bad boy. You're bringing it up on a weekly basis. So, like, you want to get value from that, and it's going to be you in the interaction. What are they really saying? And does it really work? And going through it. And so the goal as you raise children, as you develop team members, is that people would do the right thing, not for the praise, not because you have to speak it into existence. You don't have to use their words. People just do what they should do because it's the right thing to do. Does that make sense, Luke, or not?
Yes, absolutely.
Anything else you got?
Nope.
Okay. So swinging back, Kenny, to what you had said about failure, what was it that kind of triggered you to bring that up?
Um, I think I have this thinking that, I'm still young enough that I can still make all the right decisions and avoid that failure.
Well, the domino principle, you know, is very prevalent. So I think you're a lot smarter than I was at your age, a lot smarter. And I'm not sure if that's going to serve you, if that's serving you well. And so with me, I just thought, you're not that smart, Mark. You just can't afford to make a mistake. You just can't. And so I don't know, you've got a lot of gifts and, you're charming and nice and smart intellectually. And, your EQ is pretty high too. Emotional intelligence pretty high of people. And so I'm not sure that's what you're referring to. So maybe you can tell me again and I'll try to listen in a little different way.
If I have, like, if I do everything right, if I do everything perfect, then it won't like the failure. Then I'll avoid the failure.
Yeah, good.
The
Yeah,
fault, I
okay.
think the
I know.
fault is me thinking that I can do everything right.
Or if you do everything right, that the failure won't happen. So there was a situation 15 years ago with one of my children. And I mean, I prayed. I went up in front of church and bowed down and kneeled down and I cried and I prayed and I cried. And the next day she made a choice. It was just like heartbreaking to a father. And I found it out later and I was done with God. And I called my aunt, Carrie, and I said, yeah, here's the situation. And she said, Mark, the Boersmas are taught that good choices, good consequences, bad choices, bad consequences. I'm like, okay. And she said, what Gary, her husband, my uncle, said, what he taught me is you can make really good choices and still have it not work out. I'm like, huh. So that's what really sucks. I mean, if you rob a bank and you go to prison, like you robbed a bank. If your kids turn out terrible and you sucked as a dad, well, you kind of expect that your kids, but when you do everything that you know to do and beyond and more than anybody else that you know of, and you do it and it turns out terrible, you're like, really? And so I think my concern is the mindset, well, nobody's perfect. People who say that, I would be very, very, very cautious about those people. Very cautious about them. I mean, I'd be like, ah, because obviously that's true. Like, now it's just a stupid statement. They're just stupid people, in my experience. They're low level thinkers and they're crabs in a bucket and they want other people to be in that bucket. And so if you accept that I'm not going to be perfect, everybody makes mistakes, well, you're going to make probably a whole lot more mistakes. And so you can be perfect. Like, are we all in a perfect state now? Is this exactly where God wants us to be? Are we talking about exactly what God wants us to talk about? Is this exactly perfect? And it could be. So if we can be perfect for 10 seconds, okay, maybe we can be perfect for a minute, maybe an hour. So you just see it in sports, you see it in everything. People who are top level sports, like they're the best of the best in a sport, they don't go ahead and say, well, nobody's perfect, everybody makes mistakes. Navy SEALs don't do that either. So the best of the best. And so, like, we're creating God's image. God's built us to be something amazing. The choice is, are we going to be amazing? And my experience is that people that are stuck in a bucket, a crab, they want other people to be there too. So they tell people, hey, nobody's perfect. It's okay. Make mistakes. Don't be so hard on yourself. And it's like, okay, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they were meant to do that. I don't know. It's not a judgment, it's just an observation. And so I don't know if that helps at all.
Yeah, it does.
Cool. All right. So anybody else have anything else?
Nope.
All right. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Good work. Love the consistency. Bring other young men on. I mean, I'd invite other young men on this thing. And then share the podcast with other young men and women. You end up living with a lot of the consequences of young men's choices. So it makes sense for women to be on this as well. Always remember we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye bye.